Welcome to 10 p.m. with Galinsky. I'm so excited. Great to be here tonight with you. I've got a super guest tonight. Gbenga Akinnagbe. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the show, Gbenga. Hey, Gbenga.
Truth is what any.
Hey, bro.
Hey, man. Sorry, I was listening to Errol Morris.
You just can't stop taking information in, huh?
No, I'm addicted to it.
Great to see you. So we got a bunch of great people in the chat. I'm going to shout them out for you. Turco Ono's here. J.O. Sanders is in the chat.
Hey, Turco. Hey, J.O. Big Oak.
The what?
The Big Oak.
The Big Mighty Oak. Yes. Tahira Harbin is in. Jake, Dylan, Michael Swiss K, Winnie Maria, Jack Fuller. Some of these are regular crowds here. Thanks, Tahira. Tahira said I pronounced her name correctly. Jay wants to know, is it Chris Parlow tonight?
Why, did you see any bodies around?
Becky Savelle's in the house. Love you, Becky. Ebony Collins, Ronnie Schenk Jr., James Johnson, Stephanie Love. These are all just people joining us that wanted to see you. Catherine Shaw, Lisa Warren's in the house. Jamie's in the house. Zulima. So I'm going to try to get to your questions, guys, in the chat. But before we do, I'm going to talk to Gbenga a little bit here. Gbenga, you're not only an actor, but you're an activist, and we're going to touch upon both things. My question right off the bat is, do the two things tie in together for you? Are they separate for you? Which came first, the activist or the artist? How do you view that?
That's, it's interesting. I think they end up tying together, but it's never really intentional. I'm just attracted to a range of different projects, and in that range, oftentimes are things that have a socially conscious or some sort of social mission, and I think that those things appealed to me before I was an actor. I know those things appealed to me before I was an actor. So I was attracted to those projects as I became an actor, and then when I got the ability to have any bit of a little bit of a platform to speak on certain things, it would be about things that affected the community around me, whether domestically or internationally.
We're going to talk a little bit about some of those specific projects that you're doing. Let me ask you this: did you play really hard characters sometimes, and really scary and intense, visceral characters, and then on the other hand, you also play characters who are giving and loving and soft and warm and have empathy. Just got muted. Now you're unmuted. Okay, we're good. I would love technology. It's great. So what do you like better, first of all? Do you like playing the evil guys better, or do you like playing the saintly guys better? And what's the balance again for you for that?
That's a good question. I like interesting characters. Sometimes to me, none of the people I played were evil or all good. They were just, within the realms of within the realm of what it is to be human. Yeah. And then the story around it just, I think, would dictate how this person was seen, or what the actions that this person took. But if the character is complicated and it made sense as to what the motivations and the actions, those are the things that I find interesting. I like to write, so like I get really into how a character is written, and then because that's going to be what I, as an actor, take off the page. That's wild, as I said, as an actor, because I don't feel like I've acted in a long time. I've been in this place for a long time. All the days are the same. I used to act. I used to do that for a living.
Where are you shacked up right now?
Oh my! I'm in Brooklyn. I'm in Brooklyn.
And are you alone? Do you have housemates or?
No, I'm alone. I'm like, man, I really probably should have taken a bride, and before this Corona hit.
The same thing, man. Why didn't I think ahead? Let's look at a couple photos. We're going to go to the chat for some questions in a few. Elizabeth Harder's here. Zero Boy's here. Zero Boy just did a show on his Facebook at 9. So let's look at a couple photos and drop some questions off of that. That one we know. So the Deuce. What how did you get introduced to the Deuce? Did your agent call you and say, hey, these people want you, they're interested, or did you get wind of the Deuce and say, look, hey, let's explore about maybe being on this show or try and get on it?
I've been fortunate enough to be making to have been making projects with David Simon and George Pelecanos for like almost 20 years now. That they're the very first television show I did was The Wire, and we've been like creative family since.
Gotcha.
And so it's been like this is I was fortunate. I auditioned for it and it was, you know, it was off to the races, and it was great writing. That like David always puts together like an amazing writing room.
Did you grow your hair? Did you grow your hair out? Did you grow your hair out?
No, that was a wig.
Looks natural, brother.
Yeah, that's because we had a great hair department.
And the costumes must have been a lot of fun.
Oh, definitely. I love it, and most of the costumes are authentic and original to the 70s. Like it was like we had a lot of fun playing dress up on that show.
So there's a couple of people in the chat. Tahira Harbin says, "I'll quarantine with you." Ebony Collins says, "I'll marry you."
Thank you, ladies.
Stephanie Love says, "Me too." So let's go to The Wire. Actually, one more picture with the Deuce. There we are.
That was cool. That was from the pilot episode.
So they redressed the streets for you guys, eh?
Yeah, they did. And when we had to do all of 42nd Street in the 70s, we'd shoot up in Washington Heights, where we could own all of Amsterdam Avenue, at least for a few blocks, and redress the streets, and then whatever couldn't redress, we digitally edit to make it the 70s. But oftentimes we shot like on off streets around 42nd Street as well, and in studios.
So here we are at The Wire. Would you say that The Wire is probably your first big opportunity in terms of?
In terms of television, yes, but in terms of being an actor, no. Like my first play in DC, well, I did my first play was and this is after I was a wrestler in college. I worked for the federal government. I fell into acting late in life, and then I got curious about it. I started researching it. I bought some books and started going on auditions in DC. And then I did a play at the community college in Tacoma Park. We did David Ives, All in the Timing, and that was amazing. The first time on stage,
yeah,
like that changes you. Something just clicks.
Right?
You get that hit right to the brain. It's like, okay, I'm where I need to be. And but my first like professional gig was at the Shakespeare Theater, and to me that was my first like professional break as an actor, and I've been very fortunate since.
There's our guy Chris being evil. Well, again, not evil like you said. Well, maybe
he did make a lot of bodies.
I think he can be evil. It doesn't mean he is evil, right?
I think that's a picture of him killing a blind man too. So maybe that doesn't make the best case for him not being evil.
No mercy. There's a little fight going on in the chat about who's going to marry you between. Scooter Milvey just joined. Kiki Orr, James. All right. So Turco Ono has a question.
Hey, Turco.
Turco wants to know: has being a first-generation American given you a greater appreciation for the U.S., or has it provided greater pressure on you? Has the fact provided any incentive for your activism? Great question.
Wow, that is a great question. I'd say both. Definitely both. You know, your first generation, and you see your parents struggled more than most to get here, and then while they're here, so you have to like that's like the benchmark. So you have to like rise from that.
Yeah.
And as far and because I'm very much a Nigerian American, like I believe in questioning this quote unquote democracy in order to make it better. it's not perfect. It's far from that. And because I love my country, I question my country. So I think that's very much part of who I am as well. I don't know if that comes from being first generation, or it just comes from my indignation from like it's hypocrisies, but it's real.
I think it sounds like it's threaded through your being a first generation, your respect and acknowledgement for the hard work that your parents did, and then in the face of what's supposed to be here in the land of opportunity, there's got to be some connection there.
I think because I grew up with some sort of experience or knowledge of a real life outside of the United States, it gave me some perspective as to what our role is in the world. Like the U.S. isn't the world to me. To many people in America, the U.S. is the world, so I think it helps the U.S. to be like, if Americans saw itself as a country in the world as opposed to the world, because we'd fumble a lot less. We'd be far less destructive to ourselves and the community, international community, if we saw ourselves as a participant in the world as opposed to the world.
Absolutely. Jay Festa in the chat. Jay Festa says, I worked as an undercover for several years. The Wire is the most realistic police show, which makes me ask, did you do any work with law enforcement? Did you shadow any cops? Did you shadow any, or in this case, criminals? Did you shadow people to get a sense of what that was like? Or were you particularly just going off your gut and the script?
We had extraordinarily good writing, and a lot of the writers did do that as far as shadowing police officers, shadowing judges. You have to also remember that David Simon was a reporter for the Baltimore Sun for many years, so he reported on these cases. Like, it's about 80% of what you saw on the Wire actually happened. These were real people, and David reported on these cases for years. He knew these lives, their families, and so on. Ed Burns, who was also one of the head writers of the show, was a cop in Baltimore, and so he worked a lot of these cases. So these things were very visceral, and these storylines were very personal to them because they knew them, sometimes they take some creative license, but they didn't need to do much because like real life was very interesting in Baltimore, still is. It's for me, like a lot of it was in the writing. I grew up in neighborhoods very much like what you saw on The Wire, so it wasn't that a big stretch. I didn't go on any police ride-alongs when I did that show. A number of the other actors did, but we all had like different interactions as far as like our personal lives and the realness of the show and bringing it to it.
Turko Ono says, based on that first generation question, and rightly you should question, and I agree with him. Ebony says, I'm in California, but I'll move to New York. She hasn't tried.
We're in the Epic Center, Mama. You don't want none of this.
Right. Lola's in the house now. Welcome, Lola.
Lola, that's my girl there.
Lola Benemini.
Which Lola is this?
Gbeminiyi. I
think that's the same Lola.
Trisha's in the house. Becky Savell has a question. Do you intellectualize your roles and do a ton of research, or follow the writers or experts? It kind of ties into the last question. How do you prepare?
Oh wow, like no, because I can obsess on that very easily. I used to do that, but now it's very much, I think, I see each character as a human, and they have wants, desires, and it's like figuring out how and why they take the actions that they do. And so I try actually not to intellectualize the characters at all. That's how I prepare.
Right. Let's go to another image or two and see what else we can cook up here. Oh, there he is! The Mighty Oak.
Oh man, I miss that man. I miss him.
He's watching us right now. He's always watching. J.O. Sanders, who actually kicked off this entire show 2.5 weeks ago. He was my first guest. And Jay, of course, directed my solo show, The Bench, and I learned so much from Jay. So you and Jay were in a project that you put together called Who We Are at the town hall in Midtown. I saw this. I was so fortunate, and I thought that should run forever. I mean, the way that things were broken down. Very briefly, tell us just a thumbnail sketch of what, for those who didn't see it, what was the show and what was the message?
The show was, it started out as a speech by a very talented man named
He's the
Jeffrey Robinson.
Yes.
Jeffrey Robinson from the ACLU, and then I took this speech and I took Jeffrey, and then we staged it in a very different way, and brought some of it to life with great actors like Jay and Dennis O'Hare. Brought in some young folks from a nonprofit downtown called The Door, and we did all kinds of. We just kind of turned this Jeffrey's walk. We would walk us through history, but from a different perspective, not from an imperialist perspective, and it just kind of, it turns it on its head, and then just stage it differently. It was an amazing experience, and I was fortunate to have Jay be a part of it.
Mr. Robinson's presentation, which almost was like a PowerPoint, but was dramatic. I mean, that was phenomenal, and I think that's like something everybody should be taught in grammar school. What he took us through. This is To Kill a Mockingbird on Broadway.
Yes, there was that show.
There is that show. So did you pinch yourself at all when you were like, yeah, I've done The Wire and I've done, movies, but I'm on Broadway now? What was that?
It's crazy because it started out, it was a very organic process. I was just asked to be part of a 2-day workshop of a play. And so we workshopped it for 2 days with like some amazing actors, with an amazing playwright, Aaron Sorkin, and Bart Scher. And I loved it. To sit down around a table and just all day, just chop up material, talk about it, read it again. That I love stuff like that. And so we did it for 2 days, and afterwards I was just like, this was a gift. I felt like I got to see like some amazing Broadway shows for free, just being a part of that workshop. And then I was asked to be in the show when it would happen a year later, and I didn't expect that, and I didn't go in there with that thinking that. Right. And then we workshopped it for a year in the basements of Lincoln Center, just for us. So we got together like 5 times over the course of a year for different lengths of time, and just like worked it over and over and over to the point we started staging it and just worked it. And I totally forgot that it was based off of a book that so many people felt like ownership of and nostalgia towards. I forgot that we were going to be on Broadway. I forgot all of that because it was just like, it was for us, by us. And then when we started previews in front of an audience, and we moved over to the Schubert Theater, it was like, oh wow, yeah, this is Broadway.
Right.
I forgot about this part, and that was pretty amazing.
Yeah. And then look at that. What the heck is going on?
That was a show. It was a show I did called Limitless, which was pretty fun. It was a spin-off of the film, the Bradley Cooper film.
Yeah.
And we were just we had some long hours on that. I
want to let our audience know a few of these photographs I fished out from the net. My guests don't know what I have. And then a number of photographs my guests send to me. This was one that Gbenga sent to me. Let's go to the chat because there's some things cooking in there right now. Let's see. Tahira loves season 4 with the school kids. Hurt my heart when they killed him. Let's see. Lola. Hi, Robert. I'm from Lola. Okay, Lola. Lola Adiosoye.
Yes, now that's my homegirl.
That's your girl. Okay. Tahira wants to know, what was your process for getting Chris out of your system after you were done filming? Do you have issues with that when you have characters?
That's funny because The Wire was my first like television show, and I was early on in my process, in my being as an actor. So it was difficult initially to leave that on the set, because like Chris is a watcher and Chris is dark, and then I'd find myself like feeling residual shit afterwards. But as I grew as an actor and had more experiences, like and learned more tools, I found ways to just leave certain things on the set, and there's a place for that. But so right now, it's been I've gotten much better at that. Well, I would say the last project I did where I had to actively find ways to leave behind each time was actually To Kill a Mockingbird. Aside from playing Tom Robinson, who's innocent and gets killed, doing that show in this very political, really messed up time that we're in, and then leaving the theater and being still a Black man in America, but also doing it in front of like a largely white and affluent audience, even though many of them may share my liberal politics, are still benefactors of a very racist, fucked up system. It was a mind fuck. Yeah. So I would ride my bike back to Brooklyn, and then I'd come home and I'd have my ice cream and brownies, and that's how I would leave it. By the time I got back to Brooklyn, I was ready for my ice cream and brownies.
You were Gbenga again. Tahira says Gbenga has the best smile. She really wants to come to New York.
She is kind. You're very kind.
Jay wants to know what's happening with DC Noir.
Jay, okay. So I'm glad you mentioned that. So I directed this so George Pelecanos wrote and produced this feature film that consisted of four short films. It was an anthology noir genre feature. George directed one of the shorts. I directed one of the shorts. DC Noir. Well, the short that I directed was on Tribeca this past year, and Jay was in my short, and he killed it. He's amazing, as you know, and so he was in my short. So Jay, that's a good question. What's going on with DC Noir? I think the producers are having meetings on it as far as possible distribution. It's been in a few other festivals, so it's gotten some love. But yeah, I hope it gets out there soon. I'm not on the producing staff of that, so I don't get to make as many decisions. I'm just a lowly director who got some of the actors I care about into the movie. But like, I want people to see it. Jay did great work in that, and I'm really proud of that short.
In the chat, Ebony said, do a meet and greet in LA. She'll be first in line. Tahira says, you did an amazing job in that play. She says she wanted to protect you and fight everybody who went after you.
Oh, thank you.
Lola says, don't show the nudes, LOL. Ebony says, till this day, no one has seen The Wire more than me. I'm in love with you. Ice cream and brownies, says Tahira. And she said,
cheap. I'm very cheap.
She met you in New York after seeing Mockingbird. Said it made her entire year last year.
Yes, I remember. Yes, that's right. Thank you for coming to see the show, Tahira.
Cindy just joined us, and Lola's got a question. Where do you find it within you to play such a broad range of different characters? There's something they all have in common. And do you feel you have to identify personally with your characters in order to play them all well?
I think that, like, to me, I think all of the characters are again within the realm of what it is to be human, and I consider myself most days human, and so the exercise is finding a way to let certain parts of yourself, I think, just live more forward, and not judge any of it. I could never judge Chris Partlow. I could never judge Pastor Isaiah. Like I not judge any of it. I think that's what it's in my mind. Like, these are all just humans in different circumstances trying to do what they need to do and get what they need to get.
Before I forget, there's an image on the wall in your house that I think we should share. It's not a nude pic, Lola. Don't worry. Where is that picture?
Let's see. I don't know if you can see it.
Oh yeah, there it is. A little bit of reflection. There it is, the mighty oak, J.O. Sanders.
J.O. J.O.
Yeah,
It's
excellent.
a beautiful, beautiful piece of work. Let me see if I can turn this
What an
thing
incredible
on.
piece of work. Wait, you mean the play Vanya or Jay is an incredible piece of work?
Both. And the artwork. I can't turn
Don't
the
worry
light
about
on.
it. We got a little.
But yes, Jay hangs in my house every day.
It's with you. There's another shot I just put up. Tell us what's going on here. Chicken coop.
That is of the Deuce. We just got finished shooting a porn scene in a barn. And that picture was taken. Those were real animals, and we were like, it was crazy because it's the 70s, and we're shooting a porn scene in a barn with real animals. And someone took that picture from behind, and I just thought it was a great picture.
It's a really
I think
cool
I've posted
shot.
it someplace. It is.
And tell us what this backstage somewhere, right?
This is backstage at Mockingbird. Man, that is so wild. I did that. I feel like I did that play for so long, and it was so part of me. And then I feel like, wow, that seems like so long ago. But yeah, Glenn Close came that night. Jimmy Fallon came that night, and that handsome gentleman in front next to Latanya is Gregory Peck's grandson. And those are some of the other actors from To Kill a Mockingbird: Celia, Gideon, Will, Stark, Aaron.
Gregory Peck's grandson with the glasses in the front really looks like him. It's incredible.
Yeah, he does. That man's blood runs strong.
Yeah.
His genes.
What's going on here? You're with a bunch of ladies.
This is what. Yep. Larry Brown's always with his ladies. Those are actually a lot of Larry's ladies on the Deuce. This was one of the last nights of shooting. I think season 1 maybe. It was Sebastian, like Seppi. Yeah, I loved working with these people.
This is from Knucklehead.
This is from Knucklehead. It's the first movie I produced. Alfred Woodard, and it was really, really cool. Talented director Ben Bowman. With this movie took a long time to make, took years to make. But we got it done and we got it sold, damn it.
Nice. Ebony wants to know, make it happen. One more season of The Wire. Here's another shot from Knucklehead.
Yes, Langston Bellows. He's developmentally delayed, and he's obsessed with this Medical Advisor magazine that he thinks has all the answers in the world. And he thinks if he matches the right medicines that from this Medical Advisor magazine, it'll fix him. And it's sad and it's beautiful because he's with it enough to know that he's like behind everyone else. It's not as quick as everyone else, but he's not with it enough to know that he can't fix it by any combination of drugs. But he's like a man on a mission, and he's got this girlfriend that no one's ever seen, and he wants to get his mind right so he can get an apartment for him and his girlfriend, and he lives with his very abusive mother, played by Alfred Woodard. It's a beautiful script.
We're at the 10:30 mark. This is a half-hour show, but if you're into going a little overtime, I think our chatters, I will ask them, shall we go into overtime? You got a little more time?
Let's do it.
All right, cool. Jay says, tell him about working with Mel Gibson.
That's right. Jay and I worked with Mel on Edge of Darkness, and that was cool. Mel's a very talented actor and director, and he's got some struggling with some things. Obviously, he's definitely struggling with some things. But I found him to be a pretty giving actor. And what was cool is like Jay and I would have dinner sometimes, and Jay would just tell me stories of some really cool restaurants in Boston, and he'd tell these stories. It was fun. It was fun.
How tall are you?
Oy, I'd say 5'10".
So did you look? Is Mel really short?
That's funny. Yeah, I mean, he may have been wearing.
Yeah, I've heard that he's short, but he's always in those platforms. So
yeah,
we just got a thumbs up from Turco Ono to keep going. So that's good. So speaking of other famous actors besides J.O. Sanders, Savages, you worked with Philip Seymour Hoffman. Tell us one thing about him that you learned from Philip Seymour Hoffman. Like I know when I was working with Jay, when he was directing me, there was abundance of learning. And, you know, one of the things I want to say about that is he did a line reading once for me. Jay did once. And I was like, that's it. Let's stop. All I have to do is that, because we don't need to spend an hour discovering what the hell you just did, what it is, you know, that working from the outside in sometimes. And so I learned, but other examples I won't go into, but tons of things from Jay. What's one thing that working with Philip Seymour Hoffman that you can tell us maybe you picked up?
Phil was a wrestler in high school, and I wrestled. I know this is not the answer you're looking for, but it's one of the things that made me fall in love with Phil even more so. I was a fan of his work before, but when I learned that he wrestled, and we'd be in that you know passenger van, and he's telling me stories, I just like yes.
Did you guys ever at it? Did you ever get on the mat together?
Oh no, I would have loved that, but no, he was.
What was that movie where he's Make It Rain?
It's like is that Polly something? Along came Polly.
Just imagine him trying to get you sweating all over you.
Oh no, he's much too important to a film for them to let me wrestle with him. But he was very giving. Like that movie was a tough movie production wise, for a lot of reasons, and it was my first movie, and so I was like, is this how it normally is? Like a lot of crazy things happen, and he and Laura Linney, they really looked out, and they you know gave me some great advice, and just like no, it's not always like this. This is crazy, you know. Like we'll get through this together. And I talked to Phil about, actually on that movie about Labyrinth. I remember saying to him like, Labyrinth, how can I get down? And he's like, well, you know, there's no real way to get down. It's just this, you know, you just have to hang around. And then that was the only time we talked about it. I was too nervous to talk to him about it again. The movie ended, and I'm like, oh, okay, I guess I pissed him off, or I never hear about. Then I got a call like sometime afterwards, and they said our artistic director Philip Seymour Hoffman loved to invite you to the Labyrinth experience, and then I ended up like going to the experience a couple times, doing work with them, becoming a lab friend. Like Phil was amazing.
Great. Do you know? So you must know Mums.
I do know Mums.
Mums and I go way back.
I do know Mums.
He and Phil were very tight.
Yeah.
So let's look at a couple more images here. Let's go into your activism. So you've got a company called Liberated People.
I do.
And it's a clothing company, among other things. Tell us a little bit about it. These are some of the pieces.
Well, we make you know t-shirts and sweatshirts that highlight liberation dates and liberation movements. I don't know if you've seen so like the folks wearing online these Trayvon hoodies, but we created those to help raise money for the Trayvon Martin Foundation. We donate a portion of proceeds to the foundation, and we have for years. We just added the Trayvon hoodies for kids. We did a campaign with Planned Parenthood a couple years ago to help raise awareness and raise money for them. Those are some of the India sweatshirts, the Ethiopia t-shirts, the Brazil t-shirts, and with Liberated People, we try our best to help nonprofits when we can and bring attention to certain causes. Right now, we are making masks, coordinating with the city and Dr. Anu from Mount Sinai to make free masks for the public. We hopefully should be able to start distributing those in a week or two. It's been, those are some of the people, some of the folks who we've coordinated with to post themselves wearing the hoodie. That's Regina King, Jesse Williams, Sam Jackson, Chad Bowman, Issa Rae, Ava DuVernay,
Nice.
Tracy Ellis Ross. So it's pretty. I feel very fortunate that people have shown so much support for the work that Liberated People is doing.
Tell us about this beautiful chair sitting in a lot somewhere.
So I have a company called Anita Vintage, and we redesign antique and vintage furniture pieces with fabric that I've collected from around the world.
Gorgeous stuff.
Yeah, it's been a pretty cool. I like old things, and I like saving them. I feel like they all have like energy and story we want to add to it. Enitan actually means person of story. It's a woman's name or a man's name in the Yoruba language, and it's one of my middle names. And so all these just like adding to the stories of these different furniture pieces, and hopefully they add to the story of someone else's like home.
They're gorgeous. For a lot of the people that are watching this show are up and coming actors, a lot of students in acting. And so I really feel blessed to be able to present with you and just let them see that it's not just acting. It's not just getting on stage or in front of a camera and doing your thing. Like you can go and do other things with your life and actually bring meaning. And you said once your platform, you realized you had a larger platform that was created around your success, you start doing things to help the world. And that's really important. I think it's an important lesson. It's not just flashy fun. It is fun helping the world, but it's not just about the acting, you know?
Oh God, no. If I only had to act, and I'm very fortunate to have the career I have, but if it was the only thing I did, I think I would have stopped a long time ago.
Scooter Milve says, thanks for what you're doing. Ebene says, I'm still stuck on you being single and available.
So is my mother.
Sean Baxter Washburn's in the house. Great drummer, great friend, another giver of love to people in need. Wayne Simmons is in the house. Elizabeth Harder's got a question. In Mockingbird, did you find it difficult to get into your character considering you know you're being accused of something you didn't do?
No, because that's not terribly uncommon in this country, unfortunately. Whether it's a matter of being accused or not having enough resources to properly defend oneself, it's things are stacked against you. And also I did workshop it for a year, and then so it was very much it was part of me at that point. The story was difficult. It was definitely difficult because it's like you're playing this role, but you're also not playing this role because this is actually real life right now. People are Black people are dying in the streets, being killed by police officers. And those bullets were deciding if they were guilty or not. They didn't get due process, so it was difficult because of that. It was too real many times.
Thank you for sharing that. Let's see, looking at the chat here, Jay says, miss you, brother. Bronislaw Gorski just joined us. Let's go back. We'll finish up with a few more pictures that we didn't
get. Miss you too, Jay.
Said he miss you too, man. I'm sure he heard that. Someone from Liberated People, an interaction you had?
Yeah, we were shooting like a video for the company, and some police officers stopped me. They dug the wire. It's funny because I would get stopped all the time. It's for people stop me for different shows that they identify with, that they like. Yeah. But oftentimes like police officers and people who sold a lot of drugs would stop you on the street. And so you got the whole range of folks, because that show was important. To them as well. It told their story. It's in an empathetic way. So they weren't just like bad guys doing things on the street, and the cops weren't just like knuckleheads who didn't care. It showed how people became the people they became, and to bridge that level of empathy was very rare. I think it changed how people did television. It inspired a lot of TV writers.
We're moving into the closing minutes here. We got lots of compliments. Ebene wants to know if you want her number. Ebene, I think if you put it in the chat, then it'll be there, or you direct message me. I can pass your number along. We'll leave it at that.
You're very kind.
So you did a TEDx talk, again, part of your activism. Briefly, what is it? What was the talk about? People can
I did a talk about the history of stop and frisk. I had been about a year or so prior, I'd been arrested protesting stop and frisk, and then eventually stood trial for it. And I was fortunate, me and the group that I was with, like a number of other protesters in our group were found guilty in Manhattan, in the Bronx, and Queens, but our group in Brooklyn we were acquitted. And then I did a TED talk about the history of it and how it became a big, a way that people were able to advance their careers.
And this one, where were you here? What were you activating here?
This was at City Hall. This was a protest with Just Leadership to close Rikers.
Have you been to Rikers?
No, I have not been to Rikers.
You should come to Rikers with me sometime. I brought Jay in one time.
I'm totally down.
It was amazing. Yeah, you got to come because they would really listen to you, like what you just said about, both sides of the law, identifying with you and the empathy. And Jay came in one time, and Jay really laid a low profile as much as he could, but at every turn they were, hey, what? Yeah.
Because Jay is in everything. Like Jay's in like every movie,
Yeah.
So yes.
and one woman took her camera out front on the island and let me get a selfie with you, and they did it, and all of a sudden the cards came running over. No photos on the island. Delete it. It was rough. Yeah, that's our last photo. So where can people find you? Let's tell them what do you have any specific Instagram tags? I mean, mostly it's people your name, right? By this point, no?
It's my name on Instagram and on Twitter. Yeah, those are the places I am mostly.
And where can Ebene find you getting your ice cream? She'll that was me. That wasn't her.
I'm weak for that ice cream.
Amira says, great TED Talk. Watched it many times.
Oh, thank you.
We're going to close it up. So if you want to throw any more shout outs in the chat, please do it now. Tahira also has a question. Out of all the characters you played, who have you related to the most?
It's hard because it's like, picking which kid you relate to the most of your children, but there are some that you relate to more than others. There's a movie I did called Home, and that hit home in many ways. It's a guy named Jack. He's trying to. You should watch Home, and then if you see it, tag me on Instagram.
That's our assignment. Deneen White, one of the leaders of the VIP Talent Connect group, just joined us. She was probably teaching a class or running a seminar somewhere. Actually, I'm going to introduce you to her, Deneen and Gbenga. You got to get in touch with these guys. They do amazing work online. Ebene says she'll pay, so you don't have to buy the ice cream. Natalie Abruzzo just joined us.
Hey, Natalie.
Jack Fuller says, you're living proof that the American backbone is anchored from people like you and your heritage. Thanks for you, Gbenga.
Oh, wow. Thank you. You just made a dark man blush. Thank you, Jack.
Beautiful. And Turco Ono says, thank you and continue your activism. Continue to question. Tahira says, yeah, Home is a great movie. John Harris just joined us. Welcome, John. We're going to shut down in a minute. So my last question is one of those probably hard to answer questions, or maybe not. What is your top piece of advice for a young actor, actress trying to get themselves into this business? What's something that you can tell them that's maybe a guiding piece of wisdom?
I find inspirations and passions outside of this business. It'll help your career. It'll help your work. It'll help your sanity. Find things outside of this business, to be passionate about, to pour yourself into while you continue to work on your craft. And know exactly why you got to get into this. You should have and it doesn't matter. No one can judge you for why. If you want to be famous, and as long as you're true to yourself, as far as that's why you want to do it, then do it. If you want to do it because you want to create things that people see and get inspired for, whatever it is, just be true to yourself as far as why you're getting into this business.
Well said, brother. Great. Thank you so much, man. Thanks for doing what you do. Thanks for being an honest and strong person. At some point, we're going to ask you to come back. We're going to do a round table. We'll bring Jay in and a couple other people and let you guys chop it up together.
Man, I love that. Jay, thanks for tuning in. Tahira, thank you so much for all the support here. I appreciate that. Lola, I miss you, girl, and everybody else, man. And yo, Robert, thank you for doing this and inviting me to be a part of it.
You're welcome. Have a great night. Have a great night, everybody in the chat. Please, those of you who have watched the show, share this link, copy it, share it. Let's get Gbenga's message out there. Let's get Liberated People out there, and let's share the joy. Thanks, brother. Peace, everybody.
Thanks, man.
Good night.
Bye.